Mark, and we're back on Q Focus. Joining us today, once again, Doug Pollard, Melbourne Star editor, and we have a new panel member today. His name is Paul Anthony, one of the presenters on Joy Melbourne. And today we are going to be talking about the Pride March, and they are looking for marshals and volunteers. And we started talking about whether we thought Pride March was actually still really relevant.
I tend to feel it's somewhat less relevant than it used to be nowadays. I mean, we're at the stage where we're much more accepted in society than we used to be. Okay, we've still got a long way to go, but you know, lots of gay stories now in the mainstream press, on television and so on. There's less of a need for that kind of self-affirmation thing going on. And also, I don't know that it's very effective just to have a few people in their ordinary day clothes walking down a street, especially not a very interesting street like Fitzroy Street in St Kilda.
What do you think would make it more effective?
Well, I'd like to see a bit more imagination and colour and light and a bit more like Mardi Gras, you know, less of a march, more of a parade, more of a festival, more of a celebration. It's all a bit kind of dour and serious and, you know, we're making a political point here. Whereas what I think we ought to be doing is celebrating our culture and sort of dancing down the street. And I think paradoxically that has more political impact. I think you'll get more airtime if you've got lots of sort of colourful, bright, noisy things going on down the street than just a bunch of people waving placards.
Firstly, I think it is significant and that we should still have it. And I think people should remember why we're marching in the first place and not to forget why we're marching. And one of the reasons why we still need it is for all those people who still aren't out. So there's a lot of people still in their closets scared to come out, and if they see us marching down the streets, then they're more likely to come out. And the other problem is if we make it too flamboyant, then I think we're putting across the wrong message.
If the only people who see you march down the street are the people standing on the side of the street, you're not going to get many people coming out as a result. But if you make the evening news, if you make the front page of the papers, if you make Today Tonight, thousands and thousands and thousands of more people are going to see you demonstrating your pride on the street and get more chance to come out.
Unfortunately for the press though, what the press will do, they'll only pick up on anything that's flamboyant or anything that's going to get them a story. So if you have PFLAG marching down the street, or you have any group that's going to support an ethnic group marching down the street, and you have the dancing boys in their glitter pants and so forth dancing down the street, what's going to make the news? The glitter boys.
So then you make the glitter boys carry the placards that are making a political message. You make them multiracial or multicoloured. You make them whatever point you want to make. You use the colour to sell the message.
But that's where we get into stereotyping. When's the last time that you walked down the street in hot pants and glitter and said, "Hey, I'm gay"?
Oh, that would be around 1975 or thereabouts. Wasn't hot pants, it was orange satin flares. But
So what would you suggest to improve it or to get more coverage?
Well, I think the first thing we need to do is change where we're marching.
now there I'd agree with you. And I think one of the reasons why Pride is so wedded to Fitzroy Street is because the City of Port Phillip has been so supportive of Pride March down the years. And of course, it does bring business into the area. The cafe owners and the bar owners and so on down that street do very nicely out of Pride March, even though you can never persuade them to put up a rainbow flag. I'd feel sorry for someone like the City of Port Phillip for losing it, but yeah, I think we ought to be marching down Swanston Street or down Burke Street Mall, or, you know, and on a Saturday in the middle of the shopping crowd, stop the traffic, stop the trams. You know, we want to be where we are, we want to be seen, we want to be...
It certainly would create a bigger impact, wouldn't it?
If we could afford it. Because that's, I mean, that's another thing, isn't it? Because it's a cheap do, is Pride March, isn't it?
Well, like I said, we just need to go back to why we're marching. I mean, if you forget why we're marching, then it's going to just blow out into whatever it's going to be.
But why are we marching? What are we supposed to be remembering?
That we're normal. That we're like everybody else, and we're saying, hey, we're here, and we're going to stay. And we're remembering why. I mean, well, like, why do the Anzacs still march? You know, so we're doing the same. I mean, if you go back to Stonewall and all those days, I mean, that's why we're marching.
Stonewall was started by a bunch of drag queens, don't forget. The colour and movement was necessary there as well, I think, to make the point. But, I mean, I don't get this thing why we can't have both in the same parade. you can have people marching who want to be kind of sober and serious and look normal and wear their civvies and so on, but you could also have, you know, a big motorised float with dancing boys on it making some sort of point. Like last time out, we had all the lesbian parents, for example, marching. And in Melbourne, what did they do? We had a lot of lesbian mums with prams holding up placards saying, you know, I'm a lesbian mum. In Sydney, when they did the same thing, they made a whole load of pink flamingos delivering pink babies, you know, like storks. And they carried those down the street with their wings flapping, you know. And that got them on the front pages. That got them on the front pages of the Sydney Press. It got them on the evening news that night. Our lesbian mums here didn't get a word.
But do we need to excite anybody? I mean, you just said that then. As a newspaper man, I want the story.
Well, I can see Doug's point that you do need to make it something more out there that people will take notice.
If someone is there already watching the march, like they're already with it, they already know.
Incidentally, looking at the Pride March guidelines, there is a way you can make more of an impact and still stay within the current rules, because I notice they have rules for what you have to do if you're going to bring your horse or your camel.
Camel?
What?
I was looking today on the Pride March website and it says, if you're bringing your horse or camel to the parade, make sure you bring a poop bag and clean up after your animal. So, I mean, if you want to make a splash in the Pride Parade, you could bring along your horse, you could bring along your camel. Maybe we could go and borrow some of those elephants that have just arrived, you know, and ride down the parade route on elephants. I think that would be within the rules as it stands at the moment.
I think Pride, and particularly Pride March, is a good way for people to come out as well, and maybe come out to themselves. I can remember when my partner and I walked down the street hand in hand. It was such a great feeling, and it was such a great relief that we could do that. If you make it too flamboyant, I love that word, don't I? Flamboyant. If you make it too much like that, and you might have some young fella or an older person sitting at home watching it on the news. If they're too scared to come because it's all too much out there, they're not going to come. And if they think that's what gay is, well, they're not going to come either. And then you've got the homophobic parent saying, you know, bloody poofters.
Now, there's a whole other program there about what exactly is gay.
Thanks for joining us, Doug and Paul. And if you've got any comments that you'd like to make, you can always email us at feedback@bentv.org.au.
Hi, I'm Jo Mullins and you're on Bent TV Studio Q. Tonight I'm at the AGMC's Multicultural Conference. We're going to hear from a few of the panel speakers and we're also going to see some of the opening night festivities.
And the rhythm of life is a powerful beat. Puts a tingle in your fingers and a tingle in your feet.
Hi, Shanton Chang. You're one of the panel speakers at the conference. Can you tell us a bit about what your panel will be about?
My panel is actually going to be looking at how mainstream gay and lesbian organizations deal with ethnic diversity and cultural diversity. So it's something that we don't necessarily do very well. I mean, we do well as, for example, the Victorian Gay and Lesbian Lobby Rights, Ben TV, all the major GNL and allied community organizations. We look at how they can actually incorporate a lot more cultural diversity in what they do and challenging the frameworks of reference and that sort of stuff. So there's quite a few people on the panel as well looking at how well our gay and lesbian organizations do that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And did you go to the conference in 2004?
I did. I was actually one of the organizers then as well. So and it was good fun, and it was the first time we did it, and we weren't sure how well it was going to be received, and it was very well received. So people came across from Sydney, from Brisbane, from Adelaide, and then 2 years later we're doing the same thing. Well, not the same thing, a different conference, and again we have people from all over coming. So that's a good sign.
That's fabulous. Thank you very much, Shanton.
No problem. Thank you. It's a pleasure.
I'd also like to thank the Australian GLBTIQ Multicultural Council for inviting me here tonight. Like any person who does a lot of speaking engagements, I try to make sure that my speeches are appropriate for each and every occasion. Since it's after 9 p.m. and the bar has been open since before 8, I suspect that all I have to do tonight is be brief and I'll have achieved my goal. But I do want to help launch this important conference by telling you a bit about our national inquiry into discrimination against same-sex couples and how you can contribute to that inquiry. In April this year, we launched a national inquiry focusing on equal rights for gay and lesbian couples, trying to access the financial entitlements and work benefits that heterosexual couples take for granted. The right to non-discrimination and the right to equality before the law are two of the most fundamental principles of human rights law. Yet you in this room probably know better than I do that there are a raft of laws on Australia's books that clearly deny certain rights to gay and lesbian couples. There are laws that discriminate in the area of tax, superannuation, aged care, social security, immigration, and sadly, the list goes on. The goal of our inquiry is to identify those discriminatory laws, explain the impact of those laws on real people, and recommend changes to those laws so that the discrimination disappears. In Sydney, we heard Michael Burge talk about the discrimination he faced after the death of his same-sex de facto spouse in New South Wales. At the time his partner died, he could not be noted on his partner's death certificate. He described the following effects. The exclusion from my partner's death certificate placed me in a very precarious situation when proving the existence of our relationship to a host of financial institutions and government bodies. I was excluded financially on more than one occasion from claiming monies that were in both our names and some in his name only, until I could prove by other means that the relationship existed, unquote. At our hearings in Melbourne, just recently on 26th of September, we heard from some gay dads, Lee Matthews and Tony Wood. They pointed out that there are many areas of government support that they don't have access to, and I quote again, "We do not have access to the Medicare safety net as a family. We cannot income split, share tax obligations, or participate in superannuation incentives applicable to a heterosexual-headed family, especially where one spouse stays at home to look after the children, as has been the case with us." Why are these stories important? The whole purpose of conducting a national inquiry is to make sure that stories like this are heard loud and heard clear. We could easily produce a report with recommendations about new laws without leaving our offices in central Sydney. But we don't think that there's any point in doing a report like that. We want to be able to tell the government and the community at large that laws which discriminate against same-sex couples have a real impact on real people. And we want to be able to quote you as saying that this is just not acceptable anymore. We've just reopened our submission process in response to a second discussion paper that we released at the end of September. So, while we're almost at the end of our face-to-face consultation phase, I encourage you to send in your written comments on your story to the inquiry. And I hasten to add that we've not received many submissions that talk about the additional hurdles faced by gay and lesbian couples because of their culture or ethnicity. So I'd encourage you to contribute that perspective to our process. You can find out all the information that you need to know by emailing or going to our website at, and it's an easy address, www.humanrights.gov.au. I hope that you have a better sense of the types of issues that the Human Rights and Equal Opportunity Commission is looking at, and how you can empower yourselves and your community by contributing to our national inquiry. Thanks for the chance to speak with you tonight, and I hope you have a great conference in the 2 days to come.
We hope you've enjoyed tonight's segment, and we hope everybody at the conference had an enjoyable and educational experience. Also, Bent TV is looking for new volunteers, and we would love to have some volunteers from the multicultural community join us. If you'd like to join us, email feedback@benttv.org.au. We'd love to hear from you.
Hi, good evening. You're back on Channel 31, Bent TV, and Studio Q. And this evening, I have a very interesting guest. She's a lady of many talents. And first of all, her major talent, I think she would say, Andrea, would you say that journalism might be your
I would hope
major
so. That's
talent?
the one that I get paid for.
That's a good one to focus on, and we will too. And it's LOTL that you actually do articles for?
Yeah, that's my main magazine that I write for.
How did you start in that?
I've been working for LOTL now just over a year. LOTL has always been a Sydney-based magazine, but just over a year ago they decided to launch a Melbourne issue, and that's where I came on board. And
it's had a very varied look over the last, 17 years?
17 years now, yeah. We've just celebrated our 200th issue.
But in the actual articles, what has been the change that you can
Well,
see?
you're right. I mean, not only is it visually very different, the immediate difference you'll see is in the actual name of the magazine itself. It used to be the very sexy title of Lesbians on the Loose, with a pair of Doc Martens and some baggy trousers. And over the last 17 years, I think we've tried to grow with our readership, just as the female scene has changed, and so has LOTL. It started off as a very politically based magazine, and now it's, as you can see, there's a lot more kind of glamour, focus on travel, kind of the L word image, I guess, is coming through there.
Mm-hmm. And how do you see LOTL in the next 5 years, Andrea?
I'll speak first with my LOTL hat on, maybe. We've actually put it out to the readers and getting them to give us some feedback. So if you want to say how you'd like to see the magazine go, there's an online feedback form on the website. But I think personally I'd like to see the magazine get a little more edgier. There's a huge pool of female creative talent, particularly in Australia, and we don't always capture that or make the most of that. I'd like to see LOTL tackle some of the meatier issues out there, not in a depressing way, but with some innovation and with some humour.
Yeah. You told me that you have just written your own book. Now, is it a non-fiction, a fiction?
One of them is it's a book of erotic poetry about women, and that's there are a couple of publishers in the UK who are kind of fighting over that at the moment. So, yeah, hopefully that'll be out soon. But I'm also working on a fiction, erotic crime fiction.
Oh. How long have you been writing, and why?
I won my first short story competition at 12. And had a children's book published called The Adventures of Incy Wincy Spider. And it's kind of gone on from there. It's also in my genes. My dad was an editor of one of the UK national papers.
And of course you're from England.
The accent does give it away a little bit.
Just a bit. Magazines like this, like LOTL, are there many of them? Are there any?
Yeah, there are.
Can we compare? Are we competitive?
Absolutely. I think now that LOTL is truly national with its last issue, then we do stand up there against the likes of Curve, which is the US national lesbian magazine, and also Diva, which is the UK one.
Okay, yeah.
And there's a huge differences because I think the scenes are very different in each country. You
also do photography, and later, right at the end, we hope to show you a piece of photography. Where was that done, and how was that done?
About 6 months ago, there was a new night at the Glass House in Melbourne called Red, Passion Not Pain, and it's basically a night to encourage a lot of girls who are artists or performers to come along and play a part. And I happened to capture one of the fire throwers, and yeah, I think I have this desire to, maybe with LOTL or with other magazines, bring a more contemporary and abstract feel to some of the photography. You know, we tend to have the formulaic two girls in a bar with a drink in their hand, and it would be nice to show something a little different.
If you want to get in touch with LOTL, the website is, Andrea?
It's www.lotl.com.
We're back on Studio Q, and with me is the gorgeous Alan Duncan. You remember him from other times on this program.
Did another Alan just walk in?
Gorgeous.
Oh, stop it.
Hi,
Look,
darling. He's got some goodies to give away, and it's so close
you
to Christmas.
You spoiled my surprise, my stocking.
But I didn't say what it was.
No, you didn't, did you? But you are right, I do. You probably knew a few weeks back I talked to soap icon John Orchick, remember that? From Cop Shop.
Vaguely. I'm a busy woman.
That's your story and you're sticking to it, aren't you? But we did, of course, and of course we focus on his time in the number 96 movie. And lo and behold, it is coming up to Christmas and TV non-ratings time. And I have something that might stave off the TV boredom.
Oh, goody.
Because?
What is it? Number 96.
Number 96, the movie.
Look at that woman.
From 1974. Who are you talking about? Abigail? Is she turning you on?
Not quite.
No? Oh. No, you like him a bit butcher, don't you? But the thing... Number 96.
Say that.
I have not one copy, but 3 copies here in my hot little hands. Courtesy of Umbrella Entertainment, the fabulous Australian DVD label that is really kicking ass at the moment, releasing some real good cult stuff. And they're for you people, if you would like to support us here at Bent, because we need your support, we need your membership, we need your membership dollars to keep us on air. And I am quite happy to let you have one of these if you join up with us for a year's membership, at least a year. You can join for longer. $30 for a year, $20 concession, and I'm going to give one of these to the first 3 people who ring us up on our phone number.
And you can invite me to view those with you.
No, I wouldn't be taking her up on that if I were you. The first 3 people to ring us up on our phone number will get one. Now, do you remember our phone number, Harriet?
Gosh.
Silly question. 95...
You know I'm dyslexic.
Are you?
You know, I get the numbers back to front.
Oh, we can empathise then. 9517 0125 is the number. Ring us up, leave your contact details, and we will forward you a membership form. Return that with your membership payment to our mailing address. We will send you a copy of number 96 from Umbrella Entertainment to stick in your stocking or stick in your DVD player. You won't get much of a picture out of your stocking, will you? But please do, 9517 0125. And the number 96 will be yours when you join up to support us here at Bent, because we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for your support. You know.
We need you. There's your prize.
So first 3 callers, we will check the times and dates on the answering machine. It tells us exactly when, and we'll stay on air hopefully with your support. Thank you, my dear.
Oh, thank you, darling.
No
It's
worries.
lovely
It's a long
seeing
time
you
since
again.
we sat on the
We
couch
haven't been
together.
together like this for ages.
I know. I'm going through Harriet withdrawal.
And next time on Studio Q. Bye for now.